Hello again, everybody, and welcome back once more. This is Tom Nelson and Diabetes Control Video Lessons Series. It's a course on 6 steps to gaining complete control over diabetes. This is video lesson number 4, part number 3. This one is on leaky gut. This is the final one in the gastrointestinal tract introductory videos. So what is leaky gut? When the mucus layer is damaged, bad things begin to happen. You remember we said the mucus layer can be lost and damaged if those epithelial cells that house those goblet cells are not well fed and nourished. And you remember the epithelial cells are a very, very thin layer. In fact, the actual layer of cells, of epithelial cells, is only 1/10 of a diameter of a hair on your head. It's very, very thin. And yet it's so very, very important. What it's asked to do is amazing. So remember, if you're not eating enough vegetables and fiber, then there is nothing to feed the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium bacteria, which happen to be actually in the Firmicutes family, which might confuse you, but we'll clear that up later. But those are the lactic acid producing bacteria. They're the good guys in the Firmicutes family. And when those bacteria are in the presence of vegetables or complex carbohydrates and lots and lots of fiber, then they produce enzymes that ferment that break it down, and then they feed, those beneficial bacteria feed off of the nutrients that they break loose, and they prosper, and they really develop into a very strong force in your intestines, which is what you want to have happen. And when those are healthy, they produce lots of butyrate, which is the lactic acid, that feeds the epithelial cells. If those epithelial cells aren't fed, which means they won't be if you're not eating a good, strong diet of vegetables, a wide variety of vegetables and fiber, you're not going to be feeding those bacteria. And consequently, there won't be very much butyrate produced, and so the epithelial cells are going to starve. And when they're not fed well, they become weak, the goblet cells become weak, and so that mucus layer isn't produced and maintained the way that it should be. So that mucus layer, remember, is the home for both the beneficial bacteria that partner with the epithelial cells, and it provides a home for your immune system, as well as some beneficial viruses called phages, which we'll be talking about in the future. If that mucus layer is not healthy, and if it starts to break down, becomes damaged, because as those cells weaken, the bad guys in the gut are going to start attacking that mucus layer and breaking it down. And so, if you remember again, the beneficial bacteria and your immune cells are totally dependent on that mucus layer for a place to live. So when the mucus layer is damaged, your immune function declines, the beneficial bacteria population declines, because they don't have a place to live. And pathogens begin to attack those very important epithelial cells. And when those epithelial cells aren't fed very well, then the tight bond between the cells is broken and leaky gut develops. They have a very tight chemical bond one to the other when everybody's healthy. And when that's not the case, then that loosens. And because it's so thin, spaces will open up, and now everything in the intestines, pathogens, fecal matter, viruses, bacteria, everything, undigested food, all of those things are now going to be able to migrate right through that intestinal lining into the tissues surrounding those intestines. And that means that the bloodstream in that area is going to pick up those pathogens, the fecal particles, undigested food, and all of that other junk, and it's going to be distributed throughout your entire body in all of your tissues. And so consequently, inflammation is just going to flare up everywhere. The antigens of the cells throughout your body are now going to be flagging the immune system moment after moment after moment as all of these things are floating by and alerting them that they really shouldn't even be there. So your bacterial diversity is going to decline. It's going to be very poor. And there's a name for that. It's called dysbiosis. And leaky gut will develop. And statistically, there's a very high percentage of adults and even some children that have leaky gut and don't really even realize it. So if you're diabetic or if you're overweight, you really do have leaky gut. It's almost a given. And so you need to pay very close attention to all of this. Antibiotics, sugar, saturated animal fats, processed foods, food histamines are all members of your gut's worst enemies, and they are going to contribute to all of this. So symptoms can be constipation, it can be diarrhea, it could be both. It could cause bloating after you eat, immune dysfunction, which is hard to measure, headaches, brain fog, memory issues, fatigue. All of these things are going to start happening. Dysbiosis causes a histamine intolerance. So now proceed to lesson number 5. Step number 1 of 6, it's going to be restoring the leaky gut. We're going to fix it. And this is step number 1 of the 6 steps in this diabetes control program. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please pay it forward and share what you learn with others. Thank you.